Hey, it's Kara, and today we're going to make a recipe that is perfect for those times when you want something sweet, but you really don't want to spend hours in the kitchen, you don't want to make a big production of it, and you don't want to make too much. So if you're craving some homemade cookies, but you don't want to end up making way more than you could possibly ever eat, or you just don't want to make a huge production of it, then these small batch chocolate chip cookies are the way to go.
Okay, the first thing you want to do is measure out the flour, and you're going to use 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And here I'm just showing you how I like to measure so that I'm not adding in too much flour. You just spoon it into your measuring cup and level off the top and add it to your bowl. This makes sure you're not actually packing the flour into the measuring cup and inadvertently adding too much flour. So add the flour to the bowl plus a half teaspoon of baking soda and a quarter teaspoon of baking powder, a quarter teaspoon of salt, and then take a whisk and whisk that all up. You want to set that bowl to the side, and in another bowl you're going to add a quarter cup of granulated sugar, a half cup of packed brown sugar, and I just use light brown sugar, and a half cup of unsalted butter that's at room temperature. Now you're going to mix this at medium high to high speed for several minutes because you want it to be light and fluffy, and it's going to take several minutes to get that. Then add 1 large egg that's near room temperature and mix that in, and vanilla extract, and go ahead and mix that in as well. Then you're going to start adding in your flour, and I just added it in 3 different parts here. So just add it in, mix it, add more in, mix it again, and just repeat that until all of your flour is mixed into the batter. Now it's going to be pretty thick here, so just try to work with it as best you can. You may have to turn your mixer up a little bit, but that's just the nature of cookie dough. So now you're going to add about 2/3 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and I'm just mixing this in by hand. You can also add in about a half cup of chopped walnuts if you want that, but I'm kind of allergic to nuts, so I don't go for the nuts. And then you want to cover the bowl with some kind of plastic wrap or something, and then you want to chill the dough for about an hour. Now, after the hour, just go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees and use a sheet pan. And I like to use parchment paper. You can use like a silicone mat if you want to. To get the parchment paper to lay flat, I usually just kind of ball it up and then smash it out. It works for me, whatever works for you. So now take a medium-sized cookie scoop and scoop out your cookie dough, and usually about 12 will fit on the baking dish. If you don't have a cookie scoop, you can just use a tablespoon, and it's about the amount of about 2 tablespoons here. And so you want them to be spaced out a little bit. You can see here it's about, 2 inches apart, probably 1.5 to 2 inches apart. And this recipe is going to make about 24 cookies. So it's about 2 dozen versus the 40 cookies, or basically 4 dozen, that a regular recipe will call for. Now, if you only wanted to make 1 dozen cookies, you could essentially half this recipe, but then you'd be halving an egg, and that would kind of get weird. Either way, you want to bake these cookies at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 12 to 18 minutes. Mine took about 15 minutes. The edges will be golden brown, so pull them out of the oven and then wait about 5 minutes and then transfer them to a cooling rack. And if you only had 1 baking sheet, you can now go ahead and bake the rest of the batter. I hope you enjoy these. If you make this recipe, I'd love to know what you think. By the way, you can always get the recipe in the link in the description. It'll even have a button that you can click on there that can convert the ingredients to metric measurements if you need that. Happy baking, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.